Welcome to the program Africa Discourse. History has been made in Namibia as we turn our focus to the nation Namibia. The nation will witness the swearing in of its first female president. We are not just celebrating a new administration, we are also embracing a powerful shift in leadership and governance and, of course, gender representation. Namibia's new president was sworn in on Friday to lead a country facing high rates of unemployment, inequality, and poverty. And she will be dealing with it with the additional burden of being only the Africa's second ever directly elected female president and Namibia's first female head of state. This moment is a testament to the growing role of women in shaping the political and socio-economic landscape, not just in Namibia, but across Africa and the world. It is a bold statement that leadership knows no gender, only vision, competence, and the will to serve. We explore what this milestone means for women in governance, the challenges and opportunities ahead, and how female leadership is redefining the future of our societies. My name is Philip Omo Gyukbo, and joining me in this, basically, you know that a female must be part of the panel in order to look at the way forward for leadership, in governance. We know that it's going to be infectious, as it's going to be also cutting across other countries of Africa. Well, can we say Nigeria inclusive, as having the first female president? Well, joining me is a civil rights activist, Doris Ogbaifo. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
And next to Doris, next to Doris is another very, very seasoned public affairs analyst, and he is Honorable Frank Amigo. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Well, let's see how it is. First of all, I must say kudos to your victory for the female gender. Let's see what this turns out to be. Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah, the first female president of Namibia. And what does this signify for women leadership in governance? Hit the road on this.
Okay. Congratulations to us in the first place. And this is the second directly elected female president in Africa.
Exactly.
And it has proven and demonstrated that women can do it. After the election of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in 2006, and this is the second time history is repeating itself in the soil of Africa. Though the Tanzanian president who took over from her predecessor who died in office, she also took up the mantle of leadership from him, is making it the third female president in Africa. So what this has demonstrated to us as the most black populated race in Africa is that women can take a lead. Women can handle leadership positions, come in politics or in administrative offices or even political appointments. Women can do very well. And the election of the Triple N, as we fondly call her, is not as a result of pity or equity. She was elected as a result of competence, and it's something that we need to emulate, mostly in Nigeria. And there are structures that made it possible. It's not just that she came out from the back door to become the president of Namibia. There has been preparations. There has been efforts, intentional efforts that led to this milestone today. We are celebrating today, which has to do with their legal framework. Namibia has taken the time to make sure that there is 50-50 equal representation of both male and female in parliament. So it is something that they have taken their time to adjust, to readjust, to amend, to review their constitution, to make sure that it recognizes both sexes and dismantle the issue of discrimination against persons, or in terms of sex, in terms of race, in terms of ethnicity, in terms of religion, in terms of your gender. So their constitutions specifically spelled it out that there is no room for discrimination against persons. And again, in their national policy, gender policy, which they developed and signed into law in 2013, if I'm not mistaken, also specifically made it clear that female and male representation must have the same equal representation in parliament. And today in 2024, you can see that Namibia had 44.2% of female representation in their parliament. So coming now to elect the female president is not by magic. It is something that they have used legal framework to build the background, to make sure that they fight stereotypes, to make sure that they bridge the patriarchal nature of Africa, giving room for every gender, giving room for sexes, whether whatever ethnicity you come from, you are recognized as a person, just like the way the Constitution specifically spelled it out, that every citizen is equal, has equal rights, is equal before the law. So there is no room for discrimination, there is no room of power play. You get what I mean? So this is what they have done. It is a deliberate attempt to engender development in their country. So it's that dividend that they are reaping today. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been possible. So it's a win for Africa that we are getting there.
Thank you, Doris. I must say I like your mastery of words and articulation. And that brings us to the dictum that says, it's a man's word. That phrase is on trial because women are really pacing up. And sometimes we want to ask big questions about what they say that men can do. Women can even do better. Well, let's get your thoughts on this. What's happening in Namibia, and of course, what it signifies for women in governance.
Yeah, that triple N1 is not a basis for any kind of gender victory.
Oh.
Yeah, it wasn't a basis for it. It wasn't
really?
a basis.
Triple N?
Yes.
Beautiful.
It wasn't also a basis for women liberation. Just as you clearly stated in your opening salvo, that the Namibian nation is faced with three major challenges: poverty, inequality, and palpable unemployment. And there came a time in the land of Israel in Bible days that Goliath threatened the Israelites for several days, weeks, months. And it came a time also that they needed the person that could fight and possibly kill Goliath. And at that point, it did not now matter whether the person was a 1-star, 2-star, 3-star general. What was incumbent upon the nation of Israel was who could kill Goliath. Of course, we know David did kill Goliath, and he was just a young man, not old enough to be enlisted into the army.
Yeah.
So the Goliath of Namibia, here represented as inequality, unemployment, and poverty, it does not now matter which of the genders will kill the three Goliaths. So when David killed Goliath, Israel killed Goliath. There was no celebration by the younger generation that we killed Goliath, or the other ones could not. So it's a good thing. From my search, I observed that we have had about Triple N is a 9th female national leader.
Wow.
She is a 9th. We have had countries like Mauritius by a woman. I think I have a long list here. There are so many. Amina from Mauritius, Catherine from Central African Republic. There are so many. There are so many. So some did not become president, depends on their constitution. Some were kind of a prime minister. So what gave Triple N the leverage to becoming president? She has served as a minister before. Her competence was assessed. From there, she was the first woman to be a vice president in Namibia. And that had not to do with gender. It had to do with performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, performance. So I can't say kudos to the women folks, no? Because if you are saying that, Dr. Sarah Jubri will tell you it's not like that. Oh. She got 0.40% in 2003 presidential elections. And since then, no woman, before and after, no woman dared enter. So it's not a race for a particular gender. That of Nigeria is like this because the women have a priority that is not properly placed. At each time, you are shaking your head, I'm going to explain that. Each time you see a political party, the next thing you want to hear is women leader. You next hear youth leader, but never a leader for the men. The men felt these are our own. Since the women are fighting for leadership among the women, give them that. Youth, give them youth leader. But men don't come together to say, this is our leader. They feel by the arrangement, since women want to lead women, youth lead youth, then the men will not lead the nation. Where were the women in Nigeria when Dr. Sarah Jubri contested? Where were they? So we say gender now, freedom for women. Where were these women in Nigeria? Even our state,
All right,
or our geopolitical zone, where were they? So the victory I'm saying is a victory for a change in the right direction, victory for change to ensure that Namibia, a young country, colonized by South Africa, gained independence in 1990. So as young as Namibia is right now, tender as it may appear, is a woman, if Namibia to be a human being, is a woman that should take care of Namibia.
okay.
Got the tenderness. So if it will be in Nigeria, Nigeria is old enough to be ruled by a man.
All right.
So Namibia is very young, and the person or personality is in the form of a female. That can handle it. You can't talk about poverty and ask a man to start cooking. The woman knows better how to handle poverty. If you talk about unemployment, the women feel it more. Now Namibia has about 3 million population. And out of this about 3 million population, more than 70% are young people of 34 and below. So it's a young country with young people. More than 70% of the population of about 3 million is less than 34 years old. So you can see it's a growing nation. That a woman is coming up now, it spells boom for the nation.
Well,
So that's where I see it.
beautiful, well said. And if I'm to score you, I would say splendid. 70% also.
Oh, thanks.
And that's
a
distinction.
distinction. Yeah.
All right, but let's look at what we are seeing right now, because we see what is happening, and by virtue of what she has been able to do, you know, in time past, her track records, you know, competence spoke for her.
Yes.
You know, diligence and will, the capacity to develop policies in a way that the people, you know, will benefit, you know, spoke for her. But again, we see women here in Nigeria, in this climb, and we've seen performance. We've seen, you know, great capacities to perform. But sometimes you wonder if in this part of Africa, Nigeria, if women are really allowed to ascend to that top position of being the #1 citizen of the country. Because we look at this lady, like, I love the way you called it, when you coined it as the triple N, Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah, being a loyalist of the Southwest Africa People's Organization that has been in power dominantly since 1990 when they got their independence. And she's still waxing strong. Now, what do you see as a lesson in Nigeria, Doris? Because this is a takeaway for politicians to scrutinize and see how they can allow those who are competent, you know, to embrace, you know, candidacy in political parties. We want to see all of these, you know, show up, because we don't just want people who come in for personal aggrandizement, but those who have the capacity to perform, those who have the capacity to ameliorate the plight Nigerians are going through. And I believe that, you know, women having that heart, you know, to do the needful for children, to make sure that they are well positioned, can bring us this way forward in terms of tackling our challenges in Nigeria. What do you see as factors that's militating against the role of women in ascending positions in Nigeria, for instance?
Okay. The case in Nigeria is very peculiar because Nigerian women face so many limitations in joining politics or being in politics, which ranges from the cultural and religious issues, lack of or unequal access to resources, patriarchy, which also has its roots in culture and tradition.
Yeah.
Okay, you see a situation where
sorry to cut in. They also had that as a root in their culture and tradition, but they had to break away from it.
That's where I'm going to.
All right.
That is where I'm going to. You know, you have a nation where religion, culture, and tradition takes the order of the day. You see it influencing so much on customary laws that are not even written,
yeah,
which is strongly discriminatory against women. I mean, customary laws and even religion that are discriminatory against women. This discrimination ranges from telling you what and what not to do, gender roles, social norms, stuffs like that, that limits you to live your life to full potentials. Now, like I said earlier, in Namibia, they were able to review their constitution and see everyone to be equal before the law. And again, came up with the national policy that made it clear that every man and woman should have equal access in the parliament, equal seats in the parliament. So, what does this mean? It means that, you know, in the normal circumstances in law, when culture or customary law conflicts with the constitution takes precedence.
Yes, it's the ground norm.
Exactly, it takes precedence. So, and again, you now having such parity law in place, being captured in your constitution, makes it clear in black and white that this is a statutory right for both men and women.
Yeah.
It is a statutory right for everybody, irrespective of where you come from, irrespective of your race, irrespective of your religious background. So, such we need to replicate in Nigeria. Like the case of Namibia now has added to the wealth of knowledge in the pursuit of gender in Africa, that it should serve as a case study where we can see what they have done and where it has led them to, the success stories. Then we can replicate take same step in Nigeria to make amends and make corrections. Like I had earlier said, you know, our affirmative action bill that was thrown away in the past, that can be reviewed and republished in a way that it will not. And again, what we need to understand in Nigeria, for some of us that pursue this gender equality, it is not a show of fight. It is not what you do with muscle or raising your fist up. It is beyond that. It is technical in the sense that you don't pursue for gender equality to make men feel afraid, to as if you are coming in loggerheads with them.
To displace them.
Yes, it is not about displacing them or benching them or giving them the back seat. It is about
parity,
making them to understand that parity supposed to be sacrosanct, is a fundamental human right. So by the time we begin to look at it from that angle and do away with social norms, those problems that limit us, those discriminatory laws that hinders women, you know, when development is not gendered, it becomes endangered. So by the time we begin to consider that we are wasting resources by limiting women from exercising and living to their full potentials, you know, the nation is losing a whole lot of resources in that angle. By the time we begin to recognize the contributions of this set of people, you will see how national development will turn out. Let me tell you one of the statements during her inaugural, I mean the Triple N.
Yeah.
When she addressed, because my brother mentioned the issue of inequality in Namibia. Let me put a record straight. The issue of inequality experienced in Namibia is not as a result of gender inequality. We have to put that clear. But it has to do with class.
Of course.
Social class. The issue of race.
Yeah, white supremacy.
The white supremacy.
That owns about 70% ownership of the land.
Yes, the apartheid regime occupying the most vast and rich land.
Yeah.
You know, they are rich, very rich in uranium. Okay?
Beautiful.
So this Triple N, this mama said that one of her policies will be that there will be a willing buyer, willing seller policy. It means that nobody will be forced
be under pressure
to sell or to buy. So that will give citizens the right to own a land, whether you are a man or woman. So you know that land being a vital source of factors of production, you know what it can do in turning around the economy. And she also mentioned about revitalizing and re-strategizing the economy to create employment.
Okay.
Where she mentioned about value chain in their natural resources, adding values to their natural resources instead of selling it raw. She also mentioned about turning around the creative industry, where this attainment youth he mentioned can be gainfully employed and become resourceful to the country. So this is to tell you that she is coming from a grounded background, and they know that this is a woman who joined this struggle as young as 14, when she was 14 years old. That was when she joined the Southwest Africa People's Organization, SWAPO. So this is to tell you that she has paid her dues, and she really understood what it takes to turn around the economy in Namibia. Like I said earlier, by the time we can be able to turn around our laws in Nigeria, using the legal framework to achieve gender equality, I will not tell you that categorically clear we will be able to address this issue. It's not about jumping to the National Assembly. I always say it. Jumping to the National Assembly to submit the affirmative action bill, which I see is not even rich enough to push for. But we can clamor for a review of our constitution, which is the head, the main law that governs the nation. By the time we can address it with our constitution, I do not think that the customary laws that always go in contradiction with the VAP law we mentioned. You know, there are some provisions in the VAP law that contradicts what the customary law does. Now we can say, okay, when we have such contradictory issues, the constitution should take a precedence. Like in Namibia too, I will tell you that not only their national policy and gender policy and the constitution also addresses equality, you can know that they also have what they call Combating Rape Act. They had an act that addresses rape on its own. They also consider and take it very important, their labor law, their labor act. In Nigeria here, how many of us talk about labor act? How many courts prosecute people in when it has to do in relation to labor? How many? Now, you can still see that these same people also has another act in terms of Combating Domestic Violence Act on its own. So when you look at these three powerful laws, you can see that they have built institutions. They have empowered their legal system, what we call here the judiciary. They've empowered their judiciary to do what? To make sure that these laws, these policies are being implemented. And those who violate this should be checked and punished. Now you can see even employers are being subjected to submit their plan in terms of recruitment. How many number of men and women that you are going to employ or should be your employees. These are to tell you that it is not just a piece of paper that they have in Namibia. It is applicable, it is practicable, it is something doable, and it's something that they are doing. And you see that it has led them to produce a female president. So same in Liberia. Johnson Sirleaf herself, you know, she pushed when she became the president in 2006. She also made sure that they passed their own affirmative action bill into law. So when you don't have a legal framework who recognizes every human race as equal, it becomes a problem in your national development. Development does not come by magic. We all have our peculiar contributions, peculiar expertise to bring in together. We all have to work in synergy, irrespective of your gender. After all, gender is just a social construct. It's about characteristics that is socially constructed. It is not just that it's something that changes. It's subject to change. It's not static.
Okay.
Same to culture, same to tradition. It changes. It's not static. So we need to equally change in our way of thinking. That will shaping the society to be better.
Thank you, Doris. Well, if we are to put this into a better perspective, I quite appreciate your articulation. And looking at gender parity and the need to look at this critically, some say, well, if you give women the chance, they could go beyond the extent that they are supposed to take. Because if we are to look at the measure of timing, for instance, you know, it seems to be outweighing the male participant right now. But let's come to you. Let's look at this aspect of gender parity. I know basically, just like you said, the development that took place in Namibia wasn't as a result of trying to close the gap, but by virtue of, you know, competence, capacity. But again, we can't but also look into that direction. We look at what is happening presently in Nigeria. The Senator Godswill Akpabio and Natasha, Akpoti's saga, and all that transpired even in the House, how men started queuing behind the Senate President, and there seemed to be no one queuing behind, Natasha. Now, what do you say? Because it seems like it's going to be a big nut to crack here in Nigeria and even some other countries in Africa, because we look at all that has transpired, and let's look at the policy development in Nigeria, for instance, and even other climes in Africa, where we see deliberate moves and need by the Namibian government to bring about gender parity, in all of these divides. Do you see propensities, capacities being developed here in Nigeria, for instance, that will make such a trend where competence can also be sourced from the female folk?
Yeah, there's a point of clarity immediately. There is no gender disparity in Nigeria. There is none.
There's no gender disparity.
There is no gender, whether religion or culture, where I belong. There is no gender disparity.
Okay, but if we take a look at what transpired between the Senator...
yes, I'm going to get there. Like if you're writing an exam now, let's say SSC, JAM and all that, there's no gender disparity. You go there, the academic eyes will not discriminate between a male and a female. So, again...
do we have such policies that are delicate?
There should be no policy, because there is no disparity. If there is, I would have known, you would have known. My wife is a public servant. She has risen to her position as a director, not because she's a female. No law was relaxed for her. She rose to that extent of becoming a director based on her qualifications and her experience.
We're in politics.
So, before I get to politics, in the university, for instance, University of Benin, we once had a female vice chancellor. Until of recent, another female vice chancellor.
You're talking about career projection.
Yes.
Well, we're looking at being thrown into
I'm going to go to politics now, but let the public understand some basic things first. Now in politics, as I earlier said, why will women be dragging for women leader? I want to be the women leader. Why would the youth be dragging for I want to be the youth leader? Why don't you throw it open? Let women say from today, we don't want that aspect cast for us anymore. Let's go to the field of play. So now you have created a niche for yourself, and you are not done with that. You are stretching forth your hand again to drive with men. So let's have a fair playing ground. Like at the Senate, we have about 3 or 4 female senators there. None of them said anything officially as to whether Natasha was right or wrong. Maybe to them, Natasha was wrong. That's why they didn't speak up. But Natasha is carrying the burden by herself. Where are the women? I liken the women to be snakes. Then I liken the men to be bees, only bees.
Wow.
You see a swarm of bees coming, you will borrow sense. You will run. because they come in their large numbers.
Wow.
Then if you see a snake, it's only one snake that will come. Of course, easily a man or woman can easily kill a snake. But if 30 snakes are coming at the same time with a united force, no matter what you are holding, you run away. So women are not united. It's in their unity that they can ask for anything. Sarah Jubri contested, though she came 6th position on the list, and 0.40%, that was what she scored from the total vote. Where were the women? We are looking at Namibia. I am still insisting that it's not because she's a woman she got that position. It's not about women liberation.
She got it on merit.
We drew the antecedents all through. I think you mentioned 12 or 15 years old that she started showing interest. You don't go and fold your hands. I'm the women leader for South, for Southeast. The next thing they should give you. Are we also aware that each time you see a sign post somewhere written, food is ready, it's not for those that are hungry. It's for those that have the means. So who will lead Nigeria as a female is not food is ready without competence. If you have competence, you go.
So you have built capacity.
For you to say the men should wait for you to attain that height, the men won't wait for you.
Exactly.
If you have what it takes, it's open. There is no war about it. There is no religion, there is no constitution that is against women vying for it. I'm not saying, maybe you can quote it. I'm not a lawyer. If you quote it, I'm going to check it out. But so far, there is no law. Otherwise, Dr. Sarah Jubri would have had that guts to go and contest.
So what you're saying is that if they have that capacity built, they can be thrown up in political parties as party candidates. And then they can also, by virtue of that,
by population, women are more than men.
Of the #1 citizen.
Why don't you form your political party? Form your political party. Then bring, of course, the younger generation, the boys and the girls will join the women. But why don't you form that?
Okay.
You are struggling with men. Is there anything for the girls? You can't be getting from me and you want to usurp power. I won't give you. So if you're always borrowing from me and you want to not be the leader, it's not possible. Triple A walked her way through.
Yeah.
She knew one day she would vie for that position of a president.
Right from her youth.
She was a minister. She did well, creditably well. First female vice president of Namibia. Not maybe all men, fold your hands, let's allow her go. No. She contested against me and she won. Based on what she claimed she was coming to do.
She won because the electoral process was fair.
Fair. The fairness. Have you gone to the... Have you, I don't know, maybe as a media personality, you may not go out voting. We vote. Women are easily exposed to bribery. 5,000 for your vote. She say, I beg, I did. She's more interested than the man. So now we're asking women should be given a chance. Who will give you the chance? Nobody's going to give you. Food is ready, as I said, is for those that have the money to pay for the food. Not that you are very hungry. Nobody's going to give you food like that. Then there is no need to say what a man can do, a woman can do it even better. What is the basis for the competition? No basis. Every star in the sky shines. So shine your own shine. So if you have the capacity, you have the competence, people will polarize in your direction.
Yeah.
But to just wait, let's go and fight. A bill should be enacted whereby women should contest. There's no law against it.
Well, you've said much, but let's get the reactions of the lady in our midst. Do you have anything to say as per the reactions?
Well,
because he said a lot.
the problem in Nigeria is just like same way his sentiments, you can perceive very strong stereotype from his angle.
And I like the analogy he made when he compared the men. He used men as bees and then women as snakes.
Yes, you can see the high power stereotype he has exhibited here. So that is the problem we are facing in Nigeria. See, the only way we can shape our attitudes, we can shape our social life is through law. The legal framework is the perfect way at which we can change the narrative. A nation where parity law is not in existence, you can see the level of inequality that exacerbates. Nigeria is very strong patriarchally and hierarchically wise. You do not need a soothsayer or a glass reading lens to see it. It's so glaring. Like he mentioned that they are the ones that do vote, that women are easily swayed.
Easily bribed.
Bribed, yeah. You see, inequality exacerbates poverty.
But do you agree to
and
that?
Of course. And women are too vulnerable and can always succumb to such because they lack unequal access to resources.
I'm happy it's coming from you, a lady.
Of course, yes. Of course, yes. Inequality is.
I don't know if we have to open the line and say if the women out there can.
Yes,
will make an attempt to attack you on what you just said.
It breeds poverty.
I don't know if you got me.
That.
If we make an attempt to open the lines, some women will attack you on what you just said. For you to say that women are more prone to bribery and corruption,
let me tell you,
the men.
Do you know?
That's a tussle that some women won't take.
See, let me tell you.
I believe that Natasha Akpoti won't take that even in the house.
I am justifying my point.
Yes.
Go to rural villages, rural communities, where minings take place, where erosion and the effects of climate change is so glaring. You can see the sufferings of women and children. You can see the level of poverty in such domain. So what are we talking about? Why do we have women so poor? That is where I'm going to make you to understand that there is this unequal access to opportunities, unequal access to resources that can build you, to empower you as a person. Those resources are denied from you because of your gender. It is not because that you yourself cannot be able to pull out of poverty. You have to put extraordinary effort to break that shackles of poverty, to break the glass ceiling. But ordinarily, the disadvantaged ones, those in unequal access to opportunities has completely ruined their future. What do you expect them to do? Why it is very vital, why it is very important to enact parity law, to consider the Parity Act in Nigeria, is to put an end to this extreme poverty that women experience, women and children especially.
But according to him, he said there's no disparity here in Nigeria.
There is disparity. I am telling you, I am saying it for a fact. Let me give you an example. Maybe you may not understand what I have been saying since, what I meant by unequal access to opportunities and resources. Let me give you an example. There are homes today, as a result of your gender, you are denied from going to school because you are a girl child. There are homes today, because of your gender, you are denied from inheriting your father's property. Maybe, in quotes, he was rich. Nothing will get to you. There are places, because you are a woman, you do not have right to buy a land with your own money. You cannot, nobody will sell that land for you. There are places, because you are a woman, you cannot even rent a house. They will tell you to go and bring your husband. You mean in a country where Honorable Frank Mego is saying that there's no disparity against women? That I don't know the or in another country. I don't know the country he came from. But this same Nigeria that I am a Nigerian, resident in Nigeria, I am telling you this for facts. So when you have society that is so stuffed in discrimination, discriminating women because of their gender, because they are women, you must stay in the puda. There are places in this Nigeria, regions in this Nigeria, that women are subjected to be in the puda. You can't go anywhere. You can go anywhere. Western education is seen as a taboo. Here in the South, it is same story, where you will see a girl child, because you are a girl child, You will be asked to join your mother to be going to farm every morning, or join her to be going to the market every morning. The boys will have to go to school because you are a girl child.
Yeah, and again, to even for women to attend political meetings at night.
Exactly.
Husbands will not allow that.
Politically too.
Yes.
Where a woman is tagged to be promiscuous because you are in politics. Even when you try to marry an understanding husband who will support you, your colleagues there in those political meetings will be the one to remind you that is it not time for you to go home and cook for your husband? And there are some communities in Imo State, if you are a woman, you are not allowed to buy a land, even with your money. Yes, even with your money. And you know, it became so tough that the past Governor Rochas Okorocha, enacted a law, the inheritance rights law, to at least put an end to such discrimination against women, to tell you that it drew the attention of the governor to that effect. So you can see what law can do in addressing societal norms and other issues.
Okay.
The same way I think Nigeria should tow in terms of making Parity Act a national issue, where women can be allowed to live to their full potentials. And this law will intentionally address the problem of discriminatory laws. What I mean by discriminatory laws are those laws that emanate from the customary law and even the religious preachings, like the Muslims, Islamic teachings, and even the Christianity too. Because there are some versions in the Bible, like in the Proverbs, that preaches that are so harsh on women, subjugating you to be relegated like a tool, like a furniture in the house. So same to the Islamic religion too, the teachings that also relegates and subjugates women. But
I don't have the right panelists to discuss
I am just trying to explain to you what these discriminatory laws are. And again, this Parity Act signed into law, or bill signed into law, will also address this. Will also address this problem of social norms, social issues, that a child will be groomed from home to see himself as the alpha, as I am the man of the house, I'm in charge. So if you are a woman, you should go to the kitchen. So we need to end those gender roles. So that we can be able to groom children that will be equally responsible.
Thank you. I must say that you've taken a very bigger share as compared to Honorable Frank Amego in terms of this discussion. But let's get your thoughts. I believe you have reactions over that, because she said that there are disparities here in Nigeria, but you said no. It's not a basis for argument. But let's get your reaction.
There's a clarity. But thank God, ultimately, she was able to localize where that challenge is coming from.
Is in Nigeria.
In Benin, is in Nigeria. In Benin, such things don't happen.
No. We are not just restricting it to Benin.
No.
As long as it's happening in Nigeria, isn't that a problem?
It's localized.
No. Isn't that a problem?
It's a big problem.
Okay.
And I sympathize with the Southeasterners, especially the women.
When you say, I'm sorry, sir.
No, it's my time.
Don't forget, she just raised one point.
In Benin, I did a research in Edo State that covered Edo State.
Honorable Frank has the floor.
Okay.
I needed to point out the findings.
Are we on parity now? What take my time?
Okay, do that. Let's allow you. Do that in 10 seconds.
Okay. When you say Benin, you can only talk about maybe a little area you know, little community you know. Like this research, 9 local governments were covered on the attitudes towards knowledge and attitudes towards the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law 2021. You can see that people are not even aware of what we are talking about in terms of law. And when you even try to let them understand, read out the provisions of this law, they will tell you black and white that this is in conflict with what their culture says, what their customary laws says.
Basically,
I don't know the aspect of Edo State you are talking about.
Thank you. I just borrowed that time.
What's your value?
Yes,
she went beyond 10 seconds.
No. She actually borrowed that time. So we're going to add up that time to you. So you have the floor.
You still want to say something? She has something else to say.
What so is evidence-based? It's evidence-based. It's not
Frank has the floor.
Yes.
It's not a sentiment.
Okay.
Well, I like the interaction. I'm not the one dragging time with her. If it had been, then she would have been completely right that there is disparity.
Yeah, because she has a lot to say.
Yes.
Because for a long time,
everybody has a lot to say.
Men have subjected women, in her perspective,
even,
to the back seat in Nigeria.
Biblical aspect that women were subjugated is not true. I'm a pastor. Okay,
go ahead. Hit your objection.
Wait, I don't want to go into all that. There's nothing like that. Maybe it's a misinformation. The Bible is balanced. I don't know about Islam. The Bible is balanced. There's no discrimination between a man and a woman. There's none in the Bible. There's none.
Well, it said the man shall be the head of the whole.
Yeah, God said so. It wasn't by dragging.
It didn't say co-equal.
No, God knew it. That the man
even the good book said this is not a basis for argument.
There are several other places in the Bible.
Okay, after this,
that of the bishop, for instance.
Okay. It's not like that at all. It is a misinterpretation. God is not against women. That's what you're saying in essence.
In the scriptures, it says women should not speak in church.
That's not the implication. That's not it. Can we focus on Namibia first? Maybe under the create a religious
talk. We're trying to tell you that you are being sentimental in your points.
What about the aspect that says that the desire of the woman shall be to the man?
Exactly.
Okay, I want to go religious now.
Okay. Woman, you need to submit.
So let's
situate
this matter.
A woman submits to your husband.
Frank, you have the floor. Frank, you have the floor.
Well, you can hear that with God. God said the woman should submit. I'm not the one. God wants to. Oh my God. God wants to create a balance. Two captains cannot be in the same ship.
Okay.
If God says the woman should submit, first he said man should love, and God now said later woman should submit. If we are not okay with that,
equally love too.
Oh God.
Well, we can't question that because
that's the point I'm making. It's not for us to argue.
No.
If you don't like that aspect of Christianity, you can move to another religion.
Okay, as we gradually get to a tail end, let's get your thoughts. What do you see in 1 minute? What do you see in 1 minute before
okay, let's get to 1 minute now.
Yes.
So it's not about a gender war. If you are in maybe I'm fortunate to be in an enlightened community. That's what I'm saying. Such things don't happen. My head of department investor is a woman.
Okay, so what are the challenges before?
And she's not there because she's a woman. Okay. She has the competence.
What are the challenges before Netumbo Nandi?
Yes, whatever she has promised. Now she's going to get to the field of play to bring them to bear. She was watching from outside. She was watching as a former vice president. Now the ball is in your court. That determines how you're going to play it. If you play it very well, that's happened in Mauritius. Yeah, I think it's Mauritius. A woman was president.
Okay.
Then the next president was still a woman.
Thank you.
So if she does it very well, a woman can take over from her subsequently.
Thank you. So in your closing remarks, what do you see as challenges and prospects before Netumbo?
Geopolitics. Triple N has to contend with geopolitics. She has to buckle up to face geopolitics squarely.
Wow.
On the issue of their natural resources, the resources exploration, the dollarization of exports and imports, tariff issues.
Okay.
So these are the aspect of the external factors, geopolitics. But internally, it is also something that...
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I must stop you there. Big thanks for taking our time to be part of this. And big thanks to you, Honorable Frank Amigo. That's the amount you can take on this. We do this same time next week. I am Philip Omo Gyukbo. Bye for now.